So that's Ritsu Zen, and I found that this is a fantastic exercise. It doesn't take a lot of space. You can do it on hard. You don't hit people. You can actually do it. It's actually twisting like this creates a gyroscope effect, and it can help you actually stand on hard if you can't hold on to something. Twisting like this. It also, because our brains, since we were little, crawling around or not being able to crawl, and eventually we're standing up, we had to figure out what's going on with the Earth. The Earth's spinning. I mean, we have to like gyroscope in our vestibular system in the ears to actually be able to stand up and deal with the effects of gravity. This helps us recalibrate the vestibular system and our brain, the two sides, because the two sides have to speak in coordination. And crossing over the midline, like this, here's the midline, crossing back and forth actually helps to reintegrate our brain back and forth. So this is a really good one because a lot of people with Parkinson's, other things, brain starts to degenerate, their sense of balance starts to go off. Now, did anyone here have any balance issues with this? You have to be careful that if you do, you don't fall over. But, any questions on this? Ritsu's hands or yes?
Made me dizzy. Made me dizzy.
Made you dizzy. So that's telling, and so if it makes you dizzy, you just do it much smaller amount.
You have to stop.
You have to stop. So that is it's sort of a neurological evaluation at the same time. So if you're feeling dizzy, it's because there is something not quite coordinated in there and it needs to be checked out more. Okay. Thank you for volunteering that. I appreciate that. And, yeah.
What's the purpose of focusing on your feet and knees?
So when I was taught this, they didn't go into any great detail. But over the last 40 years, I've been doing Tai Chi and Qigong and Ritsu Zen. I discovered that, and as an acupuncturist, I have to focus my attention on my hands. And my hands get really hot very quickly when I'm palpating to feel what's going on. So as a systematic way to better get your body ready to focus right here in the Tantien, which in martial arts is a very key place. If you come from here, people can't, 3 people try to lift you and they can't. It's weird. Gravitationally, you're able to connect with gravity in some odd way by focusing your attention right here, a few inches below the belly button. So focusing on your feet and then your knees is a way that I've come up with to teach people how to get more into their body versus floating out here. We do have energy and we have to get in our body. I mean, when we're asleep, I talk about it a bit in my book, about my concepts of what's going on with our nervous system and energy fields. But to really get in our body, that's very important for our brain to work right, for us to have good memory, to be able to speak properly, etc. So this is a way to get your feet down and feeling gravity. We often are a little detached from walking around nowadays. We're a little too cerebral. Great question, thank you. All right, so you can go ahead and sit down. Everyone's awake. So we did the Ritsu Zen. That was great. I'm glad we had a chance to do that. So shortly we're going to answer questions, but we covered actually quite a lot. And I know it's not easy necessarily to make changes, so I decided to offer something pretty cool just for this group. And because I have a passion for supporting people in the community like you, and because you came today, I created something special. So I'd like to honor you for taking action today, being here. So the unique opportunity is for a private one-on-one survey evaluation session with me at no cost. It'll give you a clear idea of what these surveys and some others that I would have you fill out mean with respect to your brain health and your overall health. There's one catch that you have to qualify. All right, so there's certain things you have to qualify. The first 10 people who qualify will be contacted via email within 48 hours and given the opportunity to schedule a session. They're scheduled on a first-come, first-served basis. So it's in your best interest to turn in your surveys. So that's one of the things. You have to turn in your surveys so I know how to contact you if you're interested. And turning in your surveys filled out completely starts the qualification process. And then I will send you a link to the next step online survey evaluation. So there's a survey that has to do with stress. Stress is a key factor in health. If we're under stress, we don't get as good a blood circulation to our brain. Often we go like that, we get really tight and tense. And all this blocks the flow of blood up into the brain. So looking at stress is a key component, but I also have a little more in-depth brain analysis that's online. So I'll send you an email link, and then you can fill that out. And then we can go over that. And also, typically, that whole evaluation one-on-one is a $150 cost, but I won't charge you for that because you're special people for showing up today. And also, later, Pat said if people want to buy my books, they can buy the books. And typically, the combination of the two is $37. You can do it separately. One's like 18, one's like one's 17, one's 18. The two together would be $37. If you want to get them both, it'll only be $30. Plus, if you get them both, it will qualify you for huge discounts if at any point you decide to do my comprehensive brain health program, like 30% off or something. So I'll give you some more information about that later, exactly what that would entail. So that's kind of what I had to say. Any questions about the Ritsu Zen? Again, like the great question you had, or about the survey results here?
Yeah. What are the treatments like? Is it herbs, supplements, acupuncture?
It depends on what's necessary. So we do a health history that's very in-depth. You will fill out a variety of different other surveys that give me information about overall body and your brain. I do a neurological examination. And we also do a heavy metal urine test to see if you're metabolizing heavy metals properly or you're just dumping them out in a way that's going to create chaos in your body. We do a salivary test and a blood pressure special test that says whether your body is physiologically under stress all the time. And we need to address that. There is surrounding the brain and the spinal cord. Anyone heard of the meninges before? Meninges. Meninges. So meninges, most people know about meningitis, but the meninges are sort of like saran wrap that surrounds 3 layers that surround the brain and the spinal cord. It goes in every nook and cranny, and blood flows between the 2 outer layers of the meninges. And anyone worn a wetsuit? Wetsuit? Yeah? Yeah? Anyone else? Wetsuit? Leotards? Leotards, wetsuits, or so. Well, a wetsuit is called a wetsuit. Why?
Because it keeps you warm in the cold water. And, yeah.
Is it totally dry?
No.
Inside?
No. It's not dry inside or outside.
That's true. If you're in water, it's not dry outside for sure. Yeah. So, and why isn't it? Why is it called a wetsuit?
Well, water gets in the wetsuit and warms up.
Yes, exactly. So there's a little bit of stuff that actually permeates, but hopefully there's no seaweed that gets in, there's no like crabs or other things that sneak in, or dirt. And so it's a barrier, it's a semi-permeable barrier. It allows certain things in and keeps other things out. Well, that's what the meninges are like too. They allow certain things to permeate into the brain and permeate out of the brain. But it's a filtration system to keep stuff we don't want in, like large things like we don't want viruses in our brain, right? Anyone want a virus in your brain?
No.
Bacteria? No, we don't want bacteria in the brain. So that's what the meninges do. It filters things so it can't get into the brain. But if it gets twisted or torqued, because it surrounds the whole brain and the spinal cord, if you have a head injury or like a whiplash injury, it'll go like that. It tugs on it. So like if anyone have children? Raise your hand if you have children or grandkids.
Would you repeat that question?
Do you have children or grandchildren? No. Okay, have you been around children who like they go, mommy, 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 you know? Or your grandkids, and they just keep going until they get your attention. Well, if the meninges are twisted or torqued, it's sort of like that. But it's this constant irritation to the nervous system. It just keeps going on and on. And that gets really fatiguing. So the brain gets fatigued, and so it can be like walking. You could have a lot of fatigue because the meninges are twisted, and it's causing this irritation. So that's one of the things that we test also to see if there is any kind of meningeal compression. And if there is, then we would be doing like Neurologic Relief Center technique too. So I tailor it to exactly what we find. That was your question. is always acupuncture, is it, what do we use, right? So it depends on what we find in the whole evaluation and analysis process as to what I think that we need. And then so, I come up with a plan, I say this is what I think we need to do, and then you understand why. Does that make sense?
Didn't describe what the treatments are.
So the treatment's neurologic relief center technique, for example, is applying pressure in certain parts of the neck to open up the meninges. The treatment, you've had acupuncture before? So if someone has lots of tension and congestion up in the muscles here, we have two sets of arteries that feed the brain. If anyone do this like this, what artery is this one? The aorta feeds to it. Carotid, exactly. The carotid artery is the one up here. This feeds 60% of the blood to your brain. Again, it is going through the meninges though. It goes from here and then it goes through the meninges and filters in. In the vertebra itself, there's something called the vertebral artery. That carries 40% of the blood to your brain. Now, if we have muscle tension, everything's all tight here. Maybe we're walking around like this because of years of, I don't know, the weight of the world, carrying the weight of the world. A lot of people are like, they carry more than the load than other people. So it's like this. That is going to, you can even hear my voice change. That is going to cut off the flow of blood to the brain. And if you're reducing that 40%, you aren't getting as much as you need. So acupuncture may be something that we need to do to relax muscles so that we can get that full flow of blood and oxygen into the brain because the muscles are too tight.